Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's Reading the Red this Monday morning, and another beautiful sunny morning. Wonderful. Thank you, Jesus. Matthew chapter 21. Jesus is trying to impress upon disciples insight into some of the tensions that God has to put up with. And he's describing in this parable different levels, like shelves of insight that are revealing some of the tension points that go on in relationships. And so in verse 36, again he sent another group of slaves larger than the first, and they did the same thing to them. So what had they done to them? So having sent one group, the story tells us he then sends another group. So the second purpose of the second group is to do the thing that the first group was supposed to do, but that was unsuccessful. And they were unsuccessful because the people's hearts were so wicked, so far away from God, that they were unwilling to wield themselves and yield themselves and surrender themselves to God. And their resistance was so persistent, so that when the second group of people came, they also did the same to them. So they killed them, they beat them, they created problems for them. And primarily it was because they didn't want to surrender. They didn't want to give up, as it were, the privilege and the freedom that they had been given. You know, this landowner had lent out his land and he expected to get paid. But no, these ones, they knew best. They were not going to be like everyone else. They were going to do it their way, or there wasn't going to be done. And that sense of, I'm going to do it my way, is really what's in us as human beings, as we relate to each other and relate to ourselves. We basically think that we know best. And that's not just true for each other, that's also true for God as well. And when I listen to myself sometimes and the way I talk to God, and I think, really, am I talking to you? I mean, if you're really there and you're really God, which I believe you really are, how am I saying it in that way? How am I thinking about you in that way? How am I just making this trouble for you? Why am I being like that? And it's because there's this in-depth sense of wanting to do me things. And the problem of the me things wanting to be done is what gets us into problems. And Jesus is still folding, still layering this story. We'll be back tomorrow. See you then. Have a great day. Thank you for joining me.